Jenny.
How are
Thanks
you?
for. I'm good, thank you. Thanks
Good.
for coming here today and
No,
answering
thank you.
questions. My name is Cynthia.
I only
Burris.
have to do it once. You guys are doing it how many times today?
So as we know, over the past few years, many of Seattle's communities have experienced, as you said, unprecedented rates of gentrification and displacement, not only of our residents, but also the small businesses and the institutions that support our cultures and our social fabric. And the development that we've been seeing for the most part is out of reach of, or in some cases contributing to, the displacement of working class and low income, middle class families and seniors, of immigrants and refugees, people of color, folks in the service industry, artists, creatives, anyone who's not pulling down a six-figure salary. And a lot of folks are feeling like what's being created in Seattle now is not really meant for us. So as mayor, my question is, as mayor, what efforts would you support that are holistic, community-driven, that value cultural preservation to ensure that all of our communities, and especially prioritizing those hardest hit by gentrification and displacement, are able to survive and thrive in place?
It's a great question, and you're 100% right. You know, as I was driving down 23rd and Jackson, I'd said that my mom grew up on Queen Anne Hill, and we were kids growing up. She would tell us when she grew up on Queen Anne, they would take the cable car down Queen Anne and then take the cable car up here to 23rd and Jackson to go to the jazz clubs. And it was part of this wonderful fabric of Seattle at that time, and they disappeared. We can't let the richness of this city be driven out by costs. We just can't. And low-income people, people of color, older people who can't afford to stay in their homes, that you can see it just being pushed out, and we're becoming this kind of monochromatic city, both in terms of our thoughts and our viewpoints and our economic standing, our heritage. So I would work very hard, and a couple of specific things that I would look at. Number one, it's all the more reason why I think we have to bring affordable housing into every neighborhood, so that there is an ability for people of every kind to live in every neighborhood, whether they're economic status, retired, people of color. I want the people who work in Seattle to be able to afford to live in Seattle. And more, that's just not the case. And it's not just lower income. The middle income people have a harder and harder time finding anywhere they can rent, let alone buy. Forget buying a house now. The median house price, $700,000. So the other thing I would do is I would keep working with Olympia, because right now we don't have the ability. For example, I would take those apartment buildings and multifamilies that right now today are providing good, affordable housing. And you see, as property taxes go up, rents go up, and then people can't afford to live there. I'd like to get the ability to give landlords who are willing to keep their rents down a property tax break. The agreement is, you don't have to pay as much as long as you don't jack up the rents. And if you don't do that, your property taxes are going back up to what they would have been. So I think we've got to look at those carrot and sticks. We've got to bring in the affordable housing. We have to increase our investment in public housing. We have to help the landlords who want to do it. And we have to preserve those small and medium-sized businesses that make our neighborhoods what they are. We all love walking to that little bakery or the restaurant or whatever the shop is. And those, I walk, I'm doing more and more, I'm trying to get out in neighborhoods and walk. Those people can't afford to stay either. And so we've got to really look at that vitality and have as many programs as we can to give those small and medium-sized businesses the ability to stay in neighborhoods. So those are some of the things I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a follow-up question, as you know, the city has a race and social justice initiative and the racial equity toolkit that is supposed to be applied to various processes and agencies. How would you support and strengthen those initiatives, especially as they apply to issues of growth and planning?
I think that it's critical that you use them in every aspect, in particularly growth and planning, because there's no question that as we grow, the people who have less can't afford to stay in the city. And historically, for a lot of different reasons, that includes disproportionately people of color. So I think in our development decisions, sorry about that, you have to use, and there's a difference between equality and equity, because equality presumes everybody starts at the same place. And we know that's not true. We need to address the real facts on the ground and bring more equitable solutions. One of the things I did when I was U.S. Attorney under President Obama working with Eric Holder was police reform. And it was a hard, difficult process. And it was only possible because we worked with, 23 different civil rights groups came to my office. We worked with them. We went into the communities to make sure that we were hearing from the communities as well. We held a huge number of community meetings, but we also worked with the police rank and file and the Police Management Association because we had to make sure we got it right. And so that's the kind of model that I would do as mayor. I would make sure that on any issue we had, we used the lens of equity, but we made sure we had the right voices, everybody at the table to thrash about and come up with a solution that we think could result. And the other thing I would do is, we in Seattle sometimes tend to love our process. And one thing I'm good at is driving to decisions. So I would also drive those to decisions.
7 seconds, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.